the Nigerian state as it concerns you. I am Chike Obogu. On the agenda today, interesting times for the PDP. It's been a week-long talking point on the PDP. The People's Democratic Party has requested that Governor Sheriff Oborowori of Delta State step down from his position as governor. At the initial gathering of the party leaders following the defection, the National Working Committee, or the National Working Congress, led by Umar Damagum, announced that the party has directed its national legal advisor to take appropriate legal action. After the meeting, Damagum spoke to journalists, explaining that this action was one of the decisions resulting from the NWC meeting. The national leadership of the PDP has instructed the South-South Zonal Caretaker Executive, led by Ima Ogidi, to oversee the party's activities in Delta State until a new caretaker committee is established. Well, discussing this with me this morning is Dominion Brokers Group in-house analyst Dolapo Anjorin. Joins me in the studio this morning. Dolapo, good morning. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, top of the morning to you, Mr. Chike.
Right, we're still talking PDP here, and what we are getting from the feelers is that the former Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa has been talking. But before we get to Ifeanyi Okowa's talk, let me get your thoughts on the recent volcanic eruption in the PDP, as it were.
Well, unfortunately, a party like PDP is dead.
Is it dead?
Almost dead. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, it's been decimated.
Yes, it's been decimated at the moment.
Okay.
A party that was once a behemoth, you know, a colossus, you know, in our political space. You know, it's so unfortunate that we are seeing its, you know, gradual demise on a daily basis. This is a party who, at one point or the other, you know, was the biggest party in Africa after the ANC in South Africa. You know, this is once a party that organizes national executive committee meeting, where you have a sitting president, where you have all governors, where you have all state house of assemblies, where you have top hierarchies within its caucus, you know, congregating together, you know, to make decisions for the party. I can recall one event during the past, during the Fourth Republic. That was during the era of President Olusegun Obasanjo. You know, the WHO and the biggest guns in the party were the National Executive Council Committee. You know, it included people like Ibrahim Babangida, Abdulsalami Abubakar. You have the late Alamisia. You know, in that meeting, they dressed down a whole sitting president. This is a meeting where a president is going to sit down, and party faithfuls will be dressing down the president, not minding his titles. You are going to strip off your title in that kind of meeting. And it became a tug of war between Babangida and, you know, the Democrats, because they had to support their own. That was when Obasanjo, you know, demolished the OD community. And Alamisia lampooned OBJ. It was reported that they almost got into fisticuff, you know, exchanging blows. You know, this is just to tell you the internal mechanism that was present, you know, in the PDP administration as a party back then, you know, checking themselves out, you know, telling the president what policy is not working for Nigerians, what policy is working. It is this same party that has now become the shadow of itself. It's so unfortunate.
Well, so unfortunate that it's been decimated at this moment.
Yes.
And then talks have been going on that the major cause of this decimation annihilation of the PDP is the Wazirin Adamawa, that's the former vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the former presidential candidate of the PDP in the last election, that's Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Some also opine that it could be the wicked factor too, decimating the PDP. Can PDP recover from this political malady?
You see, let us be logical here and be objective. I still try to fathom how Waziri Adamawa, is behind, the vision, the cause of the crisis within the PDP.
Well, some say he shouldn't have even accepted to run for president in 2023. That post should have been given to a Southerner for equity, justice, and fairness.
If you are talking about equity, fairness, and justice, no other party in the history of Nigerian politics have zoned this presidential tickets, to the south than the PDP. When you also look at it in the on the flip side again, the Southwest have had their shot at the presidency. The South-South have had their shot at the presidency. The only region in the South who has not had a shot at presidency is the Southeastern region. And I think I recall back then, Atiku Abubakar came out and said, for equity, fairness, and justice, we need to microzone these tickets to the Southeastern region. But of course, the governors back then, headed by Nyesom Wike, they said it must be south, it must be zoned to the south. You can see the grid. Why is it difficult to microzone that ticket?
So was that why? It was because it wasn't microzone to the southeast? Was that why the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar now took up upon himself to becoming the presidential candidate of the party?
Yes, of course. Because no, he didn't take it to the north.
Of course, he contested as a northerner.
He didn't take it to the north. Let us be logical and factual.
Okay, so give me the point.
Okay, Atiku Abubakar said, if you are not going to be zoning this ticket to the southeast, remember that in the north we have northeast, we also have north central. North Central have not had a shot at the presidency. Northeast has also not have a shot at the presidency. And he is from the northeast also. And he said he's going to throw his heart into the ring. And the governors, together with the party, they constituted a committee which the former governor of Benue State chaired, Governor Otom, and they came out with the resolution that they are throwing the tickets open, that anybody could enter the race. That was how Atiku Abubakar entered into the race.
Was that the point of decimation?
The point of decimation.
Where Otom opened up
it was the decisions of the governor, because they were part of the most powerful bloc within the party,
and they opened up the window,
and they opened it up. We all saw how the primary election went. It was free and fair. Nobody cheated anyone. Atiku Abubakar won the primaries free and fair.
Well, some would say
without coercing, without changing names of delegates on the delegate list.
Some would say this your analogy or this your point of view could be relative. It could be a different point of view from other people.
No. It is not. No. Any social commentator saying anything opposite of what I've said clearly was not following the activities going on in the polity between 2018 and 2023 when we had the elections.
Okay, so will PDP recover from what is going on?
Well, hopefully they should be able to recover if they can get their acts together. But as it is at the moment, what we have in the polity is that there's no opposition. Opposition is dead. Even Labour Party is dead. It's a one-man show. The PDP is dead.
When you say some things are dead, it means they are not breathing anymore. It means there's nothing left of them.
Well, maybe my use of word, they're almost dead. Let me just put it that way. I don't want to be absolute in my commentary.
Okay, let's get back to Okowa. The former Delta State Governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, has revealed that ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar is preparing to leave the People's Democratic Party ahead of the 2027 elections. Interesting, right? I also smiled. Recall that Atiku was the PDP's presidential candidate in the 2023 election, with Okowa as his running mate. Okowa, who officially joined the All Progressives Congress on Monday, expressed regret for not aligning with his people in supporting a Southern candidate in 2023, instead of accepting the role as Atiku's running mate. Well, Okowa spoke yesterday on diverse issues. Let's get to listen to the former governor of Delta State, also a former senator, former serving senator, and then former vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, who is now with the All Progressives Congress, Ifeanyi Okowa, on the agenda this morning.
In the first instance, I don't think it's exactly true that I was sidelined in the coalition talks. Because I know that Waziri Alhaji Atiku Abubakar did invite me sometime last year, and I sat with him and he talked about this coalition, and I did offer my advice at that point in time. And as they progressed, we met once again, and I actually did offer my own advice. The advice I gave to him was personal, and I do not think that it is something that I have to talk about in the public. But the real truth is that it's not a question of being sidelined, but it's a question of whether our people, because it's not just about me, because he did invite me, and I discussed the matter with the governor, I discussed the matter with some of the leadership of our party, and they were not quite comfortable with a coalition that was being built that we already 2 years. The primaries of the parties will start off on next year. So we're just 1 year away from competitive elections. And it does not appear that a vehicle has been confirmed for that coalition. Neither does it appear to us as a state and as a political family that that coalition was going to be able to build strength within the short period of time available. And to that extent, it became worrying for both the governor and the leadership of our political family in Delta State. And we felt that it was difficult to move into that coalition, because it was one of the considerations. As we did say, we had a wide-ranging conversation with stakeholders in 4 different sections. We did consult with the caucus of the party. We did consult with all elected members of the party, from National Assembly, State Assembly to local government council chairmen, and the honorable commissioners and other top appointees of the government. We thereafter consulted with all the leadership of the party, along with the state ESCO of the party and the local government ESCO and the ward ESCOs represented in the stakeholders meetings. And that meeting resolved that it was best to move in the direction of the APC rather than in the direction of the coalition, because there's still a lot of uncertainty about the coalition, and it was not possible for them to agree that it was best to go into the coalition. As to the PDP, the mind of the leadership had been made up that the way the party is going, we do not believe that we're going to be competitive enough. So we had 2 choices, either the APC or the coalition. And it's not just the majority view. I think it was likely an all person's view that we should actually move into the APC.
Okay, yeah, you just listened to Ifeanyi Okowa there. Back to you, Dolapo Johnny. He was talking about the coalition and said there were 2 options, the APC or the coalition. And he found out that, well, he said it wasn't a majority carries the vote kind of thing. It was a personal decision from several people from the PDP saying, why would the PDP go join a coalition? So instead of PDP going to join a coalition, which they do not have faith in, they rather join the ruling All Progressives Congress. Well, let's get back to the coalition. Will the coalition ever have any feasibility in the political sphere of the Nigerian state?
Well, as it stands, if you are into political strategy, you would understand the fact that, yes, the coalition may seem not to be too obvious. It may seem not to have a specific arrowhead. It may seem not to have a permanent base or a political party under which they are going to come on. It may seem that way, but trust me, I believe that the backers of this coalition, probably maybe they have something of their sleeves. But be that as it may, I want to make a submission that we ought to have learned our lessons, in Nigeria. APC, the current ruling party, they played a vital role in the opposition, leading to the 2015 elections. Yeah. It's like everything they criticized the ruling party as at that time, they themselves have actually morphed, into that same criticism, and even doing worse than what the ruling party was doing at the moment. So this is to tell Nigerians that the real opposition are the people. Political parties are just a vehicle, to serve as an alternative. And the real opposition are the people. They are the civil society, and they are also the fourth estate of the realm, which is the media. So those are the real opposition forces for me. Those are the people that should coalesce, that should form a coalition, against, an unperforming government.
Are you saying this government is unperforming?
Well, it is relative. They are doing their best as it is at the moment, but probably maybe their best is not enough for some Nigerians. We can hear different hues and cries from all angles and sectors of the country. Some have the opinion that, okay, the reforms that Mr. President have actually is implementing, will bear fruits, in months or, years to come. And some of the opinion that the president at the moment, is incompetent. So whichever side you want to look at it from, people see it from different angles.
Okay, well, the coalition coming together, a fusion of different science students, according to Olamide's song back in the day. There was this song he released then, though he had some issues that was brought to bear and made the broadcast
like
commission ban that song. However, it talked about science students mixing several chemicals together, and yes, then coming out and said, well, breeze don't blow at real Mother Nature. That's the way Olamide put
described
it.
The song.
So right now, is it a coalition in futility or a coalition that will replicate what the APC did in 2015, the bringing up of NPDP, CPC, several parties, ACN, to form the APC?
Well, it still remains to be seen whether the coalition would live up to its expectation, because
considering the gladiators there,
see,
is it not a fight for power?
You really do not. Every quest for occupying a position in the political space is to vie for power. Even
when you are going for a coalition, and then there is a mission in front of you.
Yes, it's a quest for power. It is.
Let's get back to Okowa. Does Okowa have the political sagacity to maneuver and wriggle through the oxbow lakes of the APC?
Well, in the last election, if you go by the results, he couldn't deliver Delta, to his party, at the national elections.
The DEM PDP.
Yes, his former party. Yeah. It has become.
That's how time changes.
That's how life is actually. So at the state level, he was able to deliver Delta, because when you look at the history of Delta State, Delta has been a PDP state, right from the inception, if I'm not mistaken. You have James Ibori, who ruled for 8 years. I think after Ibori came Uduahan. Uduahan ruled for 8 years. Then, from Uduahan, produced Okowa. Okowa has produced, a successor. So you find out that it has been a PDP state, all along. That's the stronghold of PDP, now in the fold of APC. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, it's a plus for the APC. Because the whole of the political machineries...
Do you say it's a plus for the APC? APC
yes,
did not contest the election. There was just a defection. So when you say it's a plus, if you say it's a plus for them, Well, a plus
Because-
without a contest?
Yeah, a plus without the context, because they got the police,
Because they just got it on a platter of gold.
platter of gold. Yes, and it's going to strengthen the president's claim, you know. of
Well,
winning
let's just keep
Delta
our
in
fingers crossed and
2020.
see if this would be replicated by the voice of the people, especially when it comes to the ballot.
Yeah, the ball is in the court of Deltans, whether they would vote for the
Whether they
ruling
would
party.
accept
or vote
the
for
the new bride in town, which
yeah,
is the
whether
APC,
APC or anything.
or
I think the
maintain-
concern for Deltans now is how the government is going to, you know, midwife
leverage on
no,
this new arrangement.
midwife good governance, you know, for the people.
Okay, we'll go on this break now, and when we come back, more talking points. What's happening in the NNPC? How many directors were sacked this morning? Stick around, don't go away. All right, it's good to have you back on the agenda this morning. Yes, on Monday, 30th December 2024, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, said Warri Refinery has commenced operation after a long period of inactivity. The NNPC Group Chief Executive Officer at that time, Mele Kyari, disclosed this during a facility tour on the 30th of December 2024. The development comes a month after the Port Harcourt Refinery commenced operations. The 125,000 barrels per day capacity of Warri Refinery had been shut down for years due to technical issues. Fast forward, or take it back again, in August 2021, the Federal Executive Council approved the contract award for rehabilitating Warri and Kaduna refineries at $1.5 billion. And then move forward, in August 2023, President Bola Tinubu's administration assured that the Warri Refinery would come on steam by the end of the first quarter of 2024. Kaduna also will come on board towards the end of 2024. Okay, so what did Mr. President say? The president described the reopening of the refinery as another remarkable achievement in 2024, that he strengthened Nigerians in hope. Okay, Nigeria's hope in his administration. President Tinubu then, in a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, noted that with the 125,000 barrels per day refinery now operating at 60% capacity, his administration's comprehensive plan to ensure energy efficiency and security is entirely on course. He praised the Mele Kyari-led management of the NNPCL for working hard to restore Nigeria's glory and pride as a major oil-producing country. Moving forward, industry experts, however, after this whole drama and picture, industry experts have started questioning how well the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is managing the country's refineries, particularly regarding transparency and efficiency. This comes after learning that the Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company has been shut down since January 25, 2025. Why? Due to safety issues with its crude distillation unit main heater. According to the Punch newspaper of April 2025, the document released from the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, revealing that the refinery, which cost about $897.6 million in maintenance, failed to produce petrol and was shut down barely a month after former NNPC Group Chief Executive Officer Mele Kyari announced it was working. Industry experts call this situation disheartening. Further investigations show that the Port Harcourt Refinery Company, which resumed operations in November 2024, has been operating at less than 40% of its capacity. The 125,000 barrels per day Warri Refinery had been inactive for decades due to technical problems before the National Oil Company restarted it on December 30, 2024. Well, there's so many things happening within the Warri Refinery issue. So I come back to you, Dolapo. I remember here, some 2 weeks back, you gave an analysis why we cannot have optimum, when we were talking about Naira for crude,
yes,
and why we cannot have enough. Why are we not having enough in Nigeria? Why do we still import? You know, and then you made an analysis of how the Warri Refinery, Port Harcourt refineries are not producing petrol.
PMS.
However, they are only producing diesel.
Naphtha
and other byproducts of crude.
Yes.
Now it has been brought to bear. $897.6 million renovated refinery shut down in January. Why? Because it's not producing petrol. The same analogy you gave. So who is lying to the people? Who is not being straightforward? Well, you are not being justified by the whole thing, because we're still going for that. But let me get to hear from you. Now, what drama is playing out in the NNPCL and the federal government?
Vindication, they say, is in the womb of time. And I am so happy that I have been vindicated along with all others who shares this same thought line with me. Far before 2025, you know, if you are a good student of history and you have, read, you would see that the refineries, were not built to produce PMS. That's just the truth of the matter. And we have government national assets like that was, built, constructed, for specific purposes, and they are not living to that specific purpose. Another asset is, the Ajaokuta Steel Company, but that's a topic for another day. That steel factory have not produced a single steel, despite being constructed by the Russians. They need to import coals, from Russia before they can actually produce a steel. But let's leave that aside. For the refineries that we have here in Nigeria, it's so sad. $897 million, for turnaround maintenance. And if you do the calculation, over the years, about 12 trillion naira have been expended, on these refineries in the name of turnaround maintenance. And yet, they've not produced a single drop of PMS.
Okay, so the refinery shut down after a costly rehabilitation, and it has failed to produce petrol despite this humongous amount, $897.6 million on maintenance. And the federal government-owned refineries are plagued by neglect, mismanagement, and corruption. That is what it seems now.
Yes.
So, was this refinery, or were these refineries said to be maintained, said to be renovated, just to siphon funds?
Well, is
it looking like that?
It's looking like,
because they're giving us that vibe at the moment.
It's looking at it. It's looking like it, rather. When you look at the whole situation, from NNPC Towers with all the subsidiaries, NNP, DRA, you find out that this whole sector is a mess. It's like the cash cow for our political elites. And no wonder that NNPC cannot even support the budget with $2 billion, ordinary $2 billion. There have been a lot of forward sale agreements, with our crude, with different multinational companies and, different joint ventures.
So when you say forward sale agreement, I remember the last time we had a discussion on something close to this. You mentioned that the forward sale agreement is that we've been used
as a collateral.
Yeah, we've been the federal government or the government of the country of Nigeria has used our crude as collateral, future collateral. So it could come up with any decision tomorrow and say, oh, our crude has been taken over by foreign imperialists, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Nigeria becomes naked.
Well,
because that's basically 80% of that gives us our GDP.
Yeah, because when you look at it, that's the reason why and the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, that was why they were printing naira, ways and means, because the NNPC was not able to fulfill its own obligation to the National Treasury. So the same trajectory is what they are on at the moment, and there's no hope in sight. When you just look at it, a refinery that was not built to produce PMS. We have had technical committees, foreign partners come into Nigeria to come take a look at these refineries. There is a blue paper. There's a blue paper for these refineries that these refineries cannot work, and it needs to be taken out of the hands of government. It's just gulping funds, year in, year out, year in, year out. You have $2.4 billion wasted on LMA Phase 5 and Warri. And with all of this amount of money, we have imported about 3 billion liters of PMS in the last 8 months. Please, let us put these things side by side and let Nigerians let us all be objective. Are these refinery, are they actually a gain to Nigerians, or they are just a pain in the ass for us?
Oh, well, for me, I would say this, and I would always ask this question. Refineries built in the 60s or in the 80s and then have obsolete parts. How then do you renovate them when these parts are no longer available? It's like you trying to renovate a Dassault Laurel 1978 model in 2025. How then do you get the parts of these materials?
It's not even about the refineries being obsolete now. It is the refinery's original configuration. It's just a blending plant.
Okay, it was not. Okay, I get you now. So it wasn't actually built. It wasn't constructed to produce PMS.
Yes, because it has no catalytic reformer. It is the CRU that actually blends the naphtha that produces.
That's the catalytic reforming unit.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where you get the PMS from. But this refineries does not have the CRU component. So how do you get PMS for goods?
So Nigerians have been deceived over the years that
we have
turnaround maintenance have been going on, and then we're producing so number of PMS from our refineries. Meanwhile, these PMS were not even there at first.
Yeah, you see, I was surprised when I saw on the television station where tankers were coming out, filing in. I was like, hey, what magic did they perform in this refinery? But fingers crossed,
it could just be for some optics.
Well, probably.
Okay. Well, let's move on. The Warri Refinery in Nigeria has shut down operations. However, this morning, we had the news that the management, the new management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, has fired the managing directors of the 3 refineries under the purview of the NNPCL. The refineries include the Port Harcourt Refinery. Yes, we have the Port Harcourt Refinery. We have the Warri Refinery and Refining and Petrochemical Company, and even the Kaduna Refining and Petrochemical Company too. And some other senior officials of the national oil firm were also asked to leave. Among them is Bala Wunti, a former chief of the Nigerian National Petroleum Investment Management Services, a subsidiary of the NNPCL. So the new management also asked many officials with 1 year to their various retirement dates to leave. Now, the axe has been dangled. Directors of these refineries have been told to vacate that position. So, was it an incompetent scenario by the Mele Kyari-led NNPCL, that this new management of the NNPCL has decided to take the bull by the horn and saying, okay, we just want to fix this once and for all?
You see, over the years, we have always repeated the same thing. And there's a saying that goes like this. Doing the same thing the same way over and over again and expecting a different result is tantamount to, I don't want to say it, we are on air. So I won't complete that statement. So what's the essence, what's the point, of changing directors? A new set of people comes in, repeats the same thing over and over again, wash, rinse, and repeat. Who are we deceiving? So when you just look at the way our national oil sector is configured, you just have to hope who is going to bring sanity into this system. It looks like every administration just comes in, do whatever they like with the corporation, and they move. Another administration comes in, do the same thing, and you find out that the country is not moving forward.
What's the implication?
And that's the reason why you see that if there's a drop in the price of crude oil in the international market, even by $5, our naira keeps tumbling. It keeps tumbling. So I think the oil sector needs to be totally unbundled.
When you say totally unbundled, well, it's a Herculean task. However, the implication of subsidy is gone. That May 29, 2023 proclamation by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he said subsidy is gone. And then, how do you then say subsidy is gone? How do you remove subsidy when your refineries are not even producing PMS? Now it is glaring, it is staring at us in the face. Now, very glaring to Nigerians that these things have been, packaged for Nigerians all the years.
You see,
so what's the implication? If you remove subsidy and these things are not working, how will the economy work?
It's not going to work, obviously. We'll still go on and on, borrowing spree, and we depend on crude. Like I was saying earlier before you interjected, any slight shock, that affect the price of crude oil in the international market, you find out that our economy, begins to nosedive. We should start talking about, how to take off these refineries off the hands of government. Let the proceeds from these refineries be injected back into the economy, because that's the only solution. That's the only solution in sight that I see. That's the only thing, because the next budget, you still find a line item for this budget, turnaround maintenance, on yearly basis. And yet, we are not seeing anything in return. The only thing that has improved is we now have a lot of supply of PMS, where we no longer queue for to buy PMS.
So where is the PMS coming from? Where's the PMS coming from? They are imported, right?
Yeah, it's so
when the NNPCL says we no longer import PMS, where then is the government or the NNPCL getting PMS from? They need to come out to tell us the truth. Nigerians deserve the truth.
Yeah, gradually the truth will begin to unfold. Just like this Warri and Port Harcourt refinery, like we said, can't produce PMS. At least everybody is saying it now, that they are not importing PMS, and the end will finally come home to roost, and Nigerians are going to see the true picture of what is actually happening in that sector. I think the government needs to be transparent enough.
Can there be any president who can fix the oil sector?
It is not rocket science.
It's fixable, right?
It's fixable.
It's doable.
Yes, they know what
even
to
the
do.
power sector is doable.
It's doable.
It's fixable.
It's fixable.
But what is wrong?
The political will to make it work.
Is it only the political will? If you look around Africa, it seems to be a norm for African countries, African leaders at this moment, to still have this issue of leadership and rulership deficit, as it were. What's the problem? We don't want to start using the yardstick of the Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, who's seeming to be fixing his country.
That's even propaganda as far as I'm concerned.
Well, but why do we have this leadership deficit in Africa, as it were, especially when it comes to governance?
Well, probably maybe because we don't put our best leg forward. That is number one. Number two, we are being plagued with ethnic and religious sentiments when it comes to matter of governance. So it's like, you know, we have accidental politicians and, you know, deliberate politicians in the political space. You know, when you look at people with who I call accidental politicians, they're just politicians that just found themselves, you know, in the political space. The deliberate politicians of the past, you know, they shielded away from politics. And that's why you'll have the likes of the late Gani Fawehinmi, you know, at the point where they fought the military to, you know, to a halt. You know, they were supposed to consolidate on that and come into governance. You have people like Michael Zeko Mesan, you know, they also shielded away from politics. You know, by the time they realized it, you know, the accidental politicians, you know, had already taken over the political space. Did they actually
shield away from, did they shy away from
politics? Yeah, they shied away from politics. I thought it was
the point of they wanting to get into politics, but politics didn't like them.
No, that's not what happened.
Gani tried.
Yeah, he tried.
He didn't run away.
No,
Michael Zeko tried.
No,
Femi Falana tried.
They didn't join the political space when they ought to join it. That's when the accidental politicians, you know, took over.
Maybe it was Asabik and Korosiv at that time.
Well, they should have joined. And when they joined, they've taken hold of the structures. You see, it's very easy to give a madman a knife, but it's difficult to get the knife back from the madman.
Well, it's been awesome discussing this on the agenda today. The agenda will come your way again tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow morning. Yes. Another time on the agenda. Thank you for being part of it. Dolapo, thank you for being part of this discussion.
It's my pleasure.
And I hope we do this again tomorrow.
Yeah, of course.
All right, let's keep the conversation going. Do follow us on our social media platforms. Our handle is at Dominion Broadcast. And then you have it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. And on the app X, formerly known as Twitter, is at Dominion Cast. My name is Chike Oborgo. Do have a great day and stay safe.